Hello. So welcome to the block party. I'm waiting for people to log in. I've never done Facebook Live ever. So we'll see how this goes. The baby's just gone to sleep. I am very, very far away from her so that I don't have to listen to her cry. So I'm just going to wait and hang out and see how you guys are doing. I'm not really sure how this works, so we'll find out together. Won't that be lovely? All right. I'm going to go back to the events page. Basically just waiting for you guys to show up. All right. Let's see. Well, I see a little eyeball. It tells me 2 people are watching. 2 whole people. Yay, hi. I have no idea what the delay or the lag is like, so drop me a comment or something if something goes horribly wrong. But basically the plan is that we're gonna hang out and wait for people to show up for like the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then I did wind up having to pick 2 stories to do because I couldn't decide which one, and the poll was very divisive. You guys are... So I just couldn't decide, so we're gonna have to do it that way. So I'm gonna keep going back and forth to check the event page and just continue to narrate everything I'm saying. And also like to check our group page and see how that's going. So I just want to make sure everybody's here. This might be the worst idea I've ever had. We'll see. We're about to find out together. All right. Unfortunately, this is a lot of waiting, at least at the beginning. So if you're here, it would be really great if you would type a comment in the box, because I can see that there are people viewing, but I can't, it doesn't tell me who it is. So if you're here, just give me a little wave. It doesn't have to be anything exciting. I see you. I see you too. I see you. Hi, Tina. Thank you. Oh. So I'm basically switching back and forth between the event page and the live stream and everything. So, I see Carrie Johnson. All right. I'm writing your names down, and I just realized that typing on here is probably not awesome because you guys can probably hear it super loud. But it's to keep track for the giveaway. So there. How do you like them apples? I have to assign you numbers because random.org wants me to pay if I want to put names in instead of numbers. No, it's not that bad? Okay. All right. Yeah, so we're just going to hang out and wait and make sure that nobody got lost on their way to the internet. Might be a quiet night, you guys. But at least we'll have the video for posterity, right? I know that Saturday night is a little rough for people, but hey man, it's summer. People are out doing stuff, and I would be too if I didn't have a small child. So, I don't know. We got time right now, guys, so if anybody wants to just type stuff in the comments, like this is supposed to be interactive. It's not supposed to just be me talking straight to you. So if you want to type stuff in the comments, you can chit-chat for a little while. That's fine. I know watching dead air sucks, so and I'm trying not to watch myself in the monitor because I haven't been on video in so long. I didn't know what I was going to look like. I'm just like, oh, this new computer's camera is really great. I look fantastic. So I'm just gonna hang out until like 10 after-ish, somewhere in there, and see if anybody else decides to join us. And if not, then we will go ahead. So I've got a Core story and a Jack story. Yeah. Tina says she hates seeing herself in recordings. Like, I do too. I always feel like I look super weird. I always like have this going on, which is probably going to wind up being the cover still now that YouTube will randomly choose when I upload this. And I hate having my picture taken. I have like spidey sense. Like if you're trying to take a candid shot of me over there somewhere, I immediately like, I don't know, something instinctual, self-preservation maybe. All right. Unpin that party post from the top so the video is on the very top. And let's see. I see we have 3 people. If you're new, just come. If you missed anything, you can just say hi in the comments or whatever so that I can see that you're here. It's a little quiet in here. So the very intimate gathering. I keep looking at myself. I wish that I couldn't see like this. I keep looking at myself. His movement is distracting, like a Tyrannosaurus. Ooh, a lot of lemon. Ooh. All right, guys. Hey, the numbers are going up. Hi. There's more people joining us. You can just say hi in the comments or drop a heart, or I don't know how this works. I've never used Facebook Live. I probably should have tested this before I did it. So we'll see. But there will be a recording. I'm gonna somehow use internet magic to download this, and then I'll post it up to YouTube so that we can share it. And because I did get a question or two from the people who couldn't make it, so because we do have some folks in the UK and in inconvenient time slots. So I see you. We are going to start here very shortly with short story readings. So yay, 5 people, 5. All right. So that noise you hear is me typing. Okay, so we're at 5 people. All right, y'all. Let's see. I am not able to print from the new computer for some reason. It's, I don't know, some kind of demonic sorcery. So I am going to be reading short stories off of the computer. So if you hear the little scrolly mouse button noise, that's exactly what that is. Okay. All right, guys. We got 4 people. It's not a huge party, but it's very intimate. It's an intimate gathering. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Ellie. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for giving me part of your Saturday to come and hang out on Saturday night and listen to me babble, and I really appreciate it. So just to give you a quick overview, I'm gonna read a couple of short stories. They're less than 2,000 words altogether, so it won't be very long. But these are short stories that were not previously available to the public. In the previous iteration of my Patreon, the short stories that I did every month were limited to patrons only, and those eventually became confidential, which I published in 2014. And all those stories are Forgotten Relics immediately tying into the series as a whole. So they are canon, but they were previously paywalled. So I decided that since all the work is free now, that it would be really fun to read a short story or two that previous people had not seen. So if you haven't gotten a chance to read Confidential, or you had no idea that those things were available, now you do. So we're going to read those, and then I did get a pretty big question in the Google Doc for people to submit. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and I would appreciate some audience interaction on that one because it's a very tender topic for me. And then I'm going to draw names for the signed paperbacks. So those are like the winner's choice. Like we've got 4 books to choose from, and I'll mail them anywhere in the world. So whoever wins them wins them. And at this rate, like we have 3 people on the list. So make sure that if you are watching right now that you comment something in this video or on the event page so that I can count you as present so that you can be entered in the drawing to win. And at this point, if we don't get more than 5 people, it will be a very simple giveaway. So that's it for introductions. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me pull up my stuff here. So the first short that I want to read is called A New Tradition. And this is a Cora and Sophie story. Sophie oddly turned into like one of the most popular like characters in this entire series, which I did not expect when I wrote Ink Changer, but I brought her in because everybody loved her so much. So this is a little bit of a downtime piece between books. So it happens between Cora Riley and Sword of Souls. I think somewhere in there. Oh no, it would happen after Sword of Souls because Mirror of Ashes starts at Christmas. So this is a Thanksgiving story, obviously written in November for Patreon people. All right, let me just. I wish this is one of the things that makes me wish I had multiple monitors. Okay, so we're gonna start here. All right, A New Tradition. Those firemen were super nice. And hot, too. You think we were required to take a sexiness test before they let you be a firefighter? Cora snorts through a tablespoonful of jellied cranberries. Do you think about anything besides dudes? Sometimes I think about sleeping, Sophie replies from the other end of the couch. Sometimes work. Cora pushes her in the thigh with her foot, sending a handful of Sophie's cereal skittering onto the carpet. Hey, my Lucky Charms! Whatever, you're practically done with the box anyway. Sophie scoots around in the cushions to get comfortable again. The 2 of them have been ensconced in the couch since the fireman left her apartment. It seems silly to eat what's left at the table, even if it is Thanksgiving. She jams her arm up to the elbow in the box she's holding, and it comes up filled mostly with marshmallows. She grins. The perfect bite, she says, shoving the dry cereal into her mouth and chomping loudly. Cora chuckles and scrapes the dregs of her can of cranberries. Seriously, though, sorry about the oven. And the floor. It's all good, Sophie mutters. Not our fault our mamas didn't teach us how to cook a turkey. She pauses to swallow. Or anything else for that matter. You'd think YouTube would know, though, right? It was the stuffing that got me. I didn't think wet bread had such a low flash point. They both giggle. Whatever substance the stuffing had morphed into was better suited for construction work than eating. Sophie shrugs. Oh well. The whole point of the holiday is to hang out and eat, right? I think we've got that pretty well covered. Cora nods, then peers at the TV in front of them. The Curse of Spider Island. Have you seen this one? Yeah, but it's good. Turn it up. The Turkey Day Marathon is new to Cora, but she's no stranger to Mystery Science Theater. She used to watch it with her dad every weekend, until she moved in with Jeremy. No one else in her small town ever understood it, though. Irony and satire were totally lost on the cheerleading set. Finding out that Sophie's also a fan of the show was a huge discovery. Much excited hand-flapping was involved. They'd planned to watch the marathon today, although it was supposed to be accompanied by significantly more and better food. Cora pokes a few buttons on the remote, and Tom Servo's voice fills the room. They watch for a while, chewing and giggling and enjoying each other's company. When the movie starts, though, there's a lull in the background that quietly begs to be filled. A tug on things that are going unsaid, reminding them there's more to the day than they're admitting. It's Cora that gives in first. She keeps her eyes on the screen and her voice is light, but the words are heavy in her throat. You know, It's weird being away from home for the holidays. I've never done it before. It's not so bad after the first year, Sophie says, setting the empty cereal box on the floor. This is basically the same thing me and my friends did after I left home. It's not that big a deal. Just another Hallmark holiday. Tomorrow, everyone will forget about it and it'll be all gung-ho for Christmas. Cora turns to look at her and shrugs. Maybe. I just miss my family, you know? There's an odd expression on Sophie's face that Cora can't quite read. Something guarded but hurt. Family's pretty fluid, she says. You've got good parents back home, but some folks aren't so lucky. She gives Cora a tight smile. Cora sets her empty cranberry can on the end table. That's true, she says slowly, but there's something to be said for getting to choose your family. Sophie's smile brightens a bit. It gives Cora the courage to scoot across the corduroy cushions and slide her arm around her friend. There's a tremor in Sophie's dense frame, an added tension when she touches her, but she ignores it. We can be family now if you want, Cora says. I always wanted a little sister, even if she is technically a mama bear. An awkward second passes in which Cora is suddenly horribly uncertain she's done the right thing. Damn her rusty friend-making skills. But then Sophie relaxes. She exhales hard through her nose as the iron falls out of her muscles, then reaches down next to the couch. She gives Cora a look and pulls up another open box of cereal. She holds it out to Cora, who laughs and grabs a handful. Sophie follows suit. Thanks, Sophie says sheepishly. Together, they hoist fistfuls of sugary cereal and bump their knuckles like wine glasses in a toast. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, anyway. All right, so that was that one. It's funny reading these old stories because I kind of remember what I was doing at the time, and I haven't looked at them since 2014. But it's just kind of cute, like having a little moment between Cora and Sophie to just kind of cement their friendship that is kind of hinted at in Sword of Souls, and like really sadly doesn't get much attention in Mirror of Ashes, but that I am really working on for Apple of Chaos. Like now that, you know, I hate to say things because I don't want to spoil anything for people who ever that far, but you know, Sophie's not in a good way at the end of Mirror of Ashes, so it's really important that Cora and Sophie's friendship is like really cemented so that the tension, like the urgency that needs to be present and like really dealt with in Apple of Chaos is there. So we got a few more people. So guys, don't hesitate to say hi in the comments or like or something, just so I know that you're there, because I don't see any names. So I don't know who's with us except for Tina, because she's been very clear about the fact that she's there, which I super appreciate. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my other story. This one, because of miscellaneous baby things today, I did not get a chance to read over before I decided to read it, but there was a request when I put up the poll about whose story you wanted to hear for a like a tertiary character. There was a request for Sophie, but then someone was also asking about Xavier from Cora Riley, which was funny because I did write one. There's one story about Xavier, and it's a story called Jack's New Assignment that bridges the gap between Ink Changer and Cora Riley. Because if anybody has read the full series, like, you know that the Ink Changer is sort of the prequel. It's like that's where Jack came from. So this theme of him building his humanity is very present, and really kind of you get some backstory on it in sort of the beginning of Sword of Souls, but this is the moment that he comes back. So this is how he meets Xavier and ends up in the underworld with him. So let me just check back in the group real quick. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Dave. No active chat like Skype. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because it's basically your comments and your likes and stuff appear live. So it is an active chat in that way. There's no voice component. So anything you guys comment on the video shows up live for me, so I can see it immediately. So it's just like a chat. So please do comment. The more comments the more people are likely to see it, I think, even in the group itself, but I can see them right away. So anything you guys say on there is all good. And let me add Suzanne Becker to the list for the giveaway winners. All right. All right, everybody ready? We good? So I apologize in advance if I stumble over things because I've been finding typos in everything and I'm so ashamed of myself. Okay. So Jack's new assignment. These clothes itch. I've worn them every single waking moment for the last 10 years, but today they're too tight, too starched, too constrictive. Correction, not every moment. My attire is drastically different over the previous 6 months, but authority doesn't tend to smile on greasy t-shirts and eroded denim, so I've donned this severe black suit once again. I shift my weight slightly to adjust the waistband of my slacks. They're a bit tighter than I recall, making my black leather shoes creak their newness. The noise breaks the silence of the dimly lit office, and the man at the desk looks up from the mass of paperwork in front of him. I've been waiting 4 minutes and 17 seconds for Agent 99, Samir Patel, to acknowledge me. I'm moderately ashamed to admit I expected a more hospitable greeting for my return after such a dramatic exit. A soft, foolish hope. I should have known better. Ah, Jack, Samir says, as if I'd arrived unexpectedly. Good to see you. He stands, and I let him circle around to inspect me. He makes an approving rumbling sound deep in his chest as he comes to a stop in the gap between me and the desk. You're looking well, my friend. Vacation has agreed with you. Vacation. Possibly the least accurate word to describe it. Samir waits for me to return his smile. I don't. I see you haven't changed much, he says. Whether that's a pity or a blessing, I'm not sure. He holds my gaze for a brief moment, then shakes his head and returns to his chair. I don't have time to ponder the nuances of his evaluation before he's handing me a slim folder. I wish your first assignment after reinstatement were less tragic, he says with business-like detachment, but in your field it seems to be the standard. I scan through the papers, and my not inconsiderable analytical skills, creaking and dusty after months of disuse, eagerly rush up in a groundswell of familiarity. But though I absorb the case details quickly enough, 6-year-old boy lost in transit, the old comfort of numbers and facts doesn't come. Instead, there's a hollow ring as information drops into an empty space within my mind. I need context, subjective experience, shades of gray. There's no satisfaction in simple knowing. Black and white data is no longer enough. My time away seems to have altered more than my wardrobe. If only Samir could see how much I've changed. If only I could too. 2 hours and 17 minutes later, I'm standing at the border between a dense forest and a brightly lit field. Thunderclouds dancing with lightning slide surreptitiously closer to the mountains that form the near horizon. The air carries the tang of ozone, and I inhale deeply to catch any additional scent that might inform my search. A faint muddle of mildew and soap, likely undetectable to the average nose, turns my attention to the northwest. Without further hesitation, I stride across the vibrant grass towards a silvery pond, taking care not to tread on the wildflowers as I go. I've got to move quickly. The storm will arrive in 32 minutes, and a child alone in it won't last very long. Fortunately, the scent trail leads me directly to the little boy on the sandy bank of the pond. Years of careful training have made my footsteps practically silent, so he doesn't notice my approach. I observe for a moment as he stabs at the water with a long stick and laughs to himself, the motion rippling his pale aura. If I soften my focus, I can see right through him. There's a rumble of thunder, closer than before, and I clear my throat politely. I need to ensure we get to safety before the lightning arrives. The boy starts at the sound of my voice and whirls around to brandish his stick at me like a sword against a dragon. I indulge the metaphor, holding up my hands in mock surrender. You got me, I say. He stabs the stick at my midsection. Who are you? He demands. Now that we're face to face, I'm able to study him properly. Remarkably dark skin, thick eyebrows, bald head, short for his age. But the most striking detail is his ice blue eyes. I've never seen anything like them. A friend, I say, my own eyes locked on his. He narrows his eyes at me. Mama said don't talk to strangers, especially not grown-ups. That's good advice. Let me introduce myself then. My name is Jack Alexander. There's a moment where I stumble over the syllables of my own name, so long unspoken, but he doesn't seem to notice. I slowly lower my hands and hold out one to him. What's yours? I know it from the dossier, of course, but I need him to trust me. He squints at my hand, then peers up at me, his dark brow furrowed in concentration. I wait. There's another crack of thunder, and he seems to come to a decision. He offers his free hand to me, and I gently fold mine around it, stooping a few inches as we shake. I'm Xavier, he says, with a harmonic of uncertainty. Nice to meet you, Xavier. I give what I hope is a friendly smile. It's not a natural expression. And now we're not strangers anymore. What do you want, mister? A shrewd question for such a young person. My first impulse is to lie, to sugarcoat the truth or twist it. He doesn't need to know the reality of his situation. It'll only complicate the mission. In this job, the truth leads to a panic at best, or violence at worst. But this assignment is supposed to be my fresh start, a new way to work, a new perspective. I've undergone too much to fall back into old patterns. And so, I opt for the truth. I let go of his hand and straighten up. You died in a car crash, Xavier, and you got lost. I'm here to take you to heaven so you can be with your family. There's a ripple in his skeptical expression. Then his impossibly blue eyes brighten, and he smiles so wide I can see which baby teeth he's lost. Mr. Jack, are you an angel? I manage to hold my neutral expression as I reply. Something like that. Yay, okay. So, that story was just fun to write. I don't know, not even entirely sure where it came from. I just thought it would be fun to see that interaction between Jack and Xavier. It was a lot of fun to write in Cora Riley because they're so different, like a little kid and this hardened professional super agent. But yeah, so that was fun. Oh, it looks like a couple other people have joined us. Hello, 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 hello. Hi, everybody. So yeah. So this concludes the reading portion of our evening. It's pushing 7:30, so we're doing pretty good. I do want to take a minute because I did not get very many questions. Sorry, I just covered up my face. I didn't get very many questions in the Google form to submit them in advance. So what I'd really, really appreciate right now is that if everybody who's attending, or even if you're darting in and out, if you could drop a comment on the video with any questions that you have about the series, about writing, about what's going on in my life. I haven't really done any public stuff in over 2 years. I've been growing my hair. Had a kid, you know. So any comments you want to drop would be really, really awesome. Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne said she liked the story. But yeah, so if you want to drop any comments, I'm going to answer this one that I got from Katie. And I'm a little nervous about it because she's hitting me right in the feels with this, and which is extremely fitting because Katie is often the first person who reads the first drafts of all of these books. And she actually read the first draft of the 7th one is free too, the first short story that I did this year. She keeps me in line, and she asks me questions like, what does this mean? You're so American, which is helpful. So I love her so much. Yeah, so here's the question that Katie asked. How do you feel the series has shifted from what you first thought of when you began Ink Changer to the current work in progress? How has your journey shifted the plan for the series, if at all? So it's funny. It's funny that you would ask me this because I feel like I haven't talked about this at all in public. I've really only talked about it with a couple of people in private because it is such a really personal thing. So like starting from the beginning, it's like Ink Changer was supposed to be a standalone novel. And then when I came up with Cora Riley, the person that I had in mind as the template for Jack just seemed to overlap with Agent 97, who did not have a backstory. None of the people in Ink Changer had a backstory because it was written as a NaNoWriMo, like spur of the moment. I'd never done it before. So when I wrote Cora Riley, like, it made sense for Ink Changer then to become a prequel. So you don't have to read Ink Changer, but it does provide you some interesting backstory for Sophie and Jack as Agent 97. So already, like, from the get-go, there were like massive changes in how my plan was going. But then, like, once I got about halfway through Cora Riley, I realized that I wanted it to be bigger, that I wanted it to be a series. And the original plan was for it to be 5 books. So there would be Cora Riley, there would be the origin story, and then there would be, my hand is really close to my computer. Then there would be three middle books, one for each relic that they needed to find, and then a last book called The Hope of Man, where it would tie everything up. And until 2 years ago, that was the plan, and it was going really well. I was writing full time because my husband is amazing and generous and believes in what I'm doing even when I don't, and allowed me to quit my day job and continue writing full time and really make a go of it as a self-published author. But the problem was that I got so focused on the business, and I see you, Dave. I will definitely answer that question because there's an interesting answer. I had a meltdown in June of 2015 because I had sucked all the joy out of writing. It wasn't fun anymore. It was all about numbers and business and trying to make it, whatever that means. And I stressed myself out, and it wasn't fun. It was just, there's a difference between getting up every day and doing the work. But if you don't enjoy the work and it's all you do, then you're going to burn out and die. And that's what happened to me. I stopped loving it. I see you, Suzanne. That's a good one. I stopped loving it, and that was it. Like, I had to acknowledge after Mirror of Ashes was finished that I needed a break. I needed to take a break. And because I had spent the year before that I found a different spiritual path, and my life radically changed. Like, I went from being pagan to being Christian, and it blew my mind. And I was just feeling overwhelmed with all of the things in my life that were course correcting, and then my work wasn't working, and so I needed a break. And I had to in order to feel the relief that I needed in order to be sane, I had to walk away from it as if I was never coming back. And that's what I did. I tore it all down, and I spent the next year crying about it and feeling incredibly guilty and praying a lot and not talking to people because that was too much. It was just too much. But the writing desire never went away. And that was how I knew that I wasn't doing something stupid. Hi, Leslie. Oh, thank you. Leslie says I look great. Thanks. Yeah, so the writing desire didn't go away, and I felt this so powerful need to finish what I started. But by the time I was ready to do that, I was not the same person that I was when I left off with Sword of Souls. I had had a baby, and I had changed so much about how I see the world, and like so much more tender-hearted than I was before. And I found that I still love my world. I love Forgotten Relics, and I love Cora and Jack and Sophie and Sid and Manny, and I wanted to keep writing them, but it was weird. It was like, I don't know, it was like going back for your high school reunion where it's like you try to fit back into the person that you were in high school, but you're not the same person anymore. Like you could do it, but it would be drastically different. And so I have decided, like instead of, I would look at the task and I would just freak out because I needed to write 2 books. And that made me want to crumple into myself and die, just to be super honest. And so I decided that there had to be a way to do it in one. And on my birthday this year, I sat down. So I had decided to go back to writing last Christmas, maybe earlier than that. So over a year later. And then I was like, you know what? I got to do it in one. I have to. And so I sat down, and on my birthday, it came to me. It took me 2 months to figure out how to work 2 books worth of information into one book without it being a ripoff, and to make sure that I got all the Chekhov's guns and everything all in one place and tie it all up in a way that was satisfying and meaningful. And so Apple of Chaos will be the last book in the Forgotten Relics epic series. There may be other stories that come out of it, maybe even other novels, but this block will end at Apple of Chaos because I can write within this box, and I can write well within this box, and I owe it to you guys to finish what I started. I cannot walk away and work on like Signal and Noise or Ganglia Club without finishing Forgotten Relics. So there's that. If you have questions or anything about that, let me just make sure I actually answer Katie's question. So yeah, so it has shifted pretty massively across from where I started to where I'm ending, but that's because I have shifted, I have changed, and my perspective is not, I don't know, this is really difficult to put into words, which is extra frustrating as a writer, but there's a wonderful story about, I think it's St. Augustine, who's walking down the streets. It might be Constantine, I can't remember. It's apocryphal, but it's still meaningful. Where after his conversion to Christianity, he was walking in the streets of Rome, and he passed a woman, a prostitute that he used to frequent all the time, and she called out his name in the street, and he walked right by her. And she ran up and pulled on his robe and said, "Did you not recognize me? It is I." And he turned to her, this woman who he had seen repeatedly and knew extremely well in normal sense and the biblical sense, and said, "But it is not I." And he turned and left. And that is, I got chills just telling that story. It's so meaningful to me because that is how I feel. It's like I am not who I once was. And it is, as much as I feel duty bound to finish this and finish it well, I also feel that it is very important for me to be true to who I am now and the perspective and where I see and how I feel, like who I am now, to write new things, like meaningful, important, fun things based on who I actually am, because that's where the best writing comes from. So the journey has been weird. And I'm incredibly grateful for everybody who's come with me this far. Some of you have been with me for 5 years. And I can't believe it. Like, you guys are amazing. So I think that properly answers Katie's question. If anybody has any follow-ups on that, I really love to do more on that. Okay, so Thank you. I've got 3 more questions in here. Leslie, I am going to add you to the giveaway list so I don't forget. All right. So the next question that I have is from Dave. He asked if I ever thought of going to traditional publishing. Yes. I think about it a lot because, frankly, doing this myself is very time consuming. And now, especially now having a kid, it's like I do not have the time that I used to have. And unfortunately, life can only be appreciated in retrospect. I wish I had done more and been more productive and cared more about the time when I was spending 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, doing nothing but working on the business and writing. I wish I had done more with that because now I have 1 day a week that is still not being paid for by the business. Yeah, so can I just real quick plug for Patreon because that's how we're paying for daycare so I can continue to write. And right now it covers 25% of our daycare costs, so 1 day a month. So if you can support us on Patreon, that'd be great. But traditional publishing would be the other option. I cannot sell Forgotten Relics in any way to a traditional publisher because I have already sold it under my own name. I know that sometimes small pub will pick up that stuff, but usually you have to have sold like a lot. Like you have to demonstrate that you have saleability, and I don't have the numbers, like thousands and thousands of copies for one book, and I'm not that cool yet. But I have given very serious consideration to shopping future stuff, especially short stories, to traditional publishing methods like selling short stories, and like Ganglia Club, because it's a YA story. I think would sell well, but it's in the current market, YA would sell really well because YA is just bonkers. But in 5 years, who knows? And that's the thing, is like if you start to write on what's selling now, you're not going to be able to sell it. Like you have to get in on the first tidal wave, or you have to anticipate the wave in order to sell stuff like that. So I'm not sure that I am coherent enough to do that, and I'm certainly not clairvoyant. But I'm not as involved in the publishing world as I used to be. Twitter used to be my jam, and I met so many awesome people through it in the publishing world. And now I'm just kind of, I was like D-list, and now I'm like F, G, like whatever. I will never have a verified Twitter checkmark. But yes, I would like to do traditional publishing. It scares the crap out of me because I hate rejection. But I think that I think my stuff is good, and I think it's good enough that it could get published by traditional methods. And we'll see. We'll see. Ganglia Club probably for sure. Okay, so I see you, Leslie. Thank you. Leslie, you're so great. Thank you for being so sweet and asking questions. Suzanne asked, how much of Cora's personality is yours? So when I started it, I think I've talked about this before, about how characters represent often aspects of the writer's personality. I think as you write more and more and more characters, that becomes less and less true. You get the ability to think like other people, but I really do believe that first characters are very much like you. And Cora's personality, at the time that I was writing it, when I wrote Cora Riley, so that was like 2013. Yes, 2013. Very similar. Like that town that she's from is the town that I went to high school in. Yeah, like, but there's also, like, Jack is also my personality. That's why it's so important to me that their romance work properly, because they're two halves of who I am. And maybe that's too personal. Maybe that's, maybe, I don't know. But like there is a lot of Cora in me. Like Cora wants to believe the best in people, and Cora believes in doing the right thing, and makes mistakes and gets too wound up about stuff. And Cora struggles with depression, and she's willing to sacrifice things that she probably shouldn't in order for people to love her. And like that's in me. But also like Jack's tendency to shut down and go into robot mode until he explodes, that is also me. But that tendency of his to just dive in and stand up and be there to help people who need it, is also in me. So, and like, so Sophie is totally based on my friend Kylie. That's all Kylie all the time. But I feel like first characters are usually, that's who you are, because it's your richest vein, right? You know yourself, and I'm actually very curious to see who, like, the first characters that come out after the Forgotten Relics series is over, because of what I just said, that I am not who I once was. And so the people that come out, because I probably am going to write Signal and Noise next, which is like, I keep calling it, in my mind, I keep calling it space punk. I'm not going to go into it now, but like that person will probably be me as well, just a different version of me. So it's easiest to write because it's who I am. All right. Hi, Leslie. So Leslie asks, are there specific themes that interest you now? I have had this conversation with people many times about like the topic of themes alternately like intrigues me and annoys the crap out of me, because even in high school, when we were asked to analyze stories and poems and whatever, they always want you to find the theme. What is the theme? What does the author mean by this? And frequently I would get in trouble with my teachers because what I was coming up with, that I was pulling out of the material, was not the same as the answer in the book. I won't get into this, but like My Last Duchess, we had an argument in my AP English class because I was the only one that did not get the theme. So it's difficult for me to talk about themes in my own work because I don't write with those themes in mind. They only come up in conversation when I'm talking with people about them, about like what the work means to me, or my hair is just a wreck. I'm sorry, it was in a ponytail all day and now I'm just like, mom hair. So I keep trying to mess with it because I can see it in the monitor. I'm like, no, don't look. The themes that seem to recur in my work, and including the short stories, is that this is probably so cute to most people, especially given the state of the world right now, but I believe in my heart and with everything that I am that human beings are good, and that even before all of this spiritual work in my life, like I believe that there is redemption for people, and that the power of like love of people in your life, and like the power of connection and intimacy between human spirits, like that is so valuable, the most valuable thing ever, and it can change people's lives. And I feel like that theme has been really strong in the Forgotten Relics book, and it took me writing them to understand that I really felt that about people. Just Jack's story, and it's going to get dealt with really hard in Apple of Chaos in Cora's life. But that theme is still interesting to me now, because it's, especially with the world the way it is now, like that's what we really need. Meaningful stories that give people hope, and remind us that we're all human. Everyone is fighting a hard battle, and that you're not going to agree with everybody, but that in your own, like in each person's individual private life, like there is change is possible, and that you'd be better. Like, you know, I hate saying these things out loud because it sounds so hokey. It sounds like it should be written on a t-shirt, a bumper sticker. Those tender moments where people understand each other, that is interesting to me. Like, the story of how you get to that moment, that interested. I could sell that t-shirt. The story of how you come to that understanding is fascinating to me. Like, whether it's when you fall in love, or you find a good friend, or you are forgiven, or you give forgiveness, or you know, you start from nothing and you build something great for yourself, and you help other people, and like whatever that thing is, the story of how you get there is so important to me, because I really in my heart believe that human beings have something written on their hearts that tells them that they are good, and that it can be better. And you know, we see that expressed in a lot of things. The It Gets Better movement, and you know, I'm holding your hand, and I just think that's so important, and I think that theme will continue, because I guess to me that's the only theme. Like, it just like all bad decisions and all negative things, I really feel are rooted in fear. Like just everything can be, all the negative crap can be distilled down to fear. I really feel like all of the good things, all of the hope and change is based on love. And that's, again, super hokey, but that connection, that understanding between people is what fuels all the good things in the world. And it's simple balance, right? Like, the more of the good, like understanding and connection and intimacy, and you know, even disagreeing while giving respect is vital. And all it has to do is outweigh the amount of things that are fueled by fear. That's it. That's all. There. Look, I solved it. World peace. But you know, that's the theme. That's all I write about. You can see it in all the short stories. And it's, frankly, if I can just be really, really hokey and cliche, like, it's the theme of my life. Like, I've tried really hard within myself and in my relationships to get that across, and to be that person, like, be the change, right? And especially like in my spiritual walk, like in my Christian life, seeking God and all of that, like, we talk about it a lot, where in church especially, about how you are a walking testimony, and you gotta love people, man, because the instant you turn into fear, it just, ain't nobody listening to that. And I want my stories to communicate that, even if they're about vampires. All of that is because people need hope, and people need connection. And the less connection we have, the easier it is for fear to get in the way. So there's that. Thank you, Leslie, for that question. Tina says it sounds like life, living life to the fullest. Yeah. And I mean, it's easy to get distracted, right? Thank you, Susanna. I'm glad you think it's not hokey. These things sound weird to me in my head because you see them so much, but they get turned into bumper stickers and sound bites. And when you find out if that's something that you really believe, that it could be the theme of your life, it feels like something that you shouldn't talk about, because people are going to think that you just need to shut up and go to yoga. And that's not it at all. So I don't see any more questions. Does anybody have any more questions? I know it's like 5 to 8. Leslie said her computer got sabotaged by her child, so she'll be right back after some tough love. I see you. So yeah, let me give you guys a minute. If anybody else has any more questions, we got some time, got a few minutes, and then we have had exactly 5 people. So basically everyone who commented and liked and stuff I'll be in touch with you about your signed paperbacks. Yay, free books! I like giving away free books. I have so many books out there on the shelf that I'm tired of looking at them. Just take them, please. Just take my books. Take my books, please. So I'll give you guys a second to, if anybody has any more questions. Yeah, free books. Oh my goodness. Oh, too much lemon. I put lemon juice in here. It's gross. Too much lemon, not enough fizz. Anybody? Let me check the, I realize I haven't been checking the group. Oh man. My notifications on Facebook show screen caps from when you guys like stuff, and I have so many chins. Let's see. Refresh all the things. Not this thing. Oh geez. Okay. All right, I'm not seeing any more questions, so we will go ahead and wrap up, unless anybody has anything else. Sorry, spoke too soon. Tina. Tina asks, has becoming a parent affected the way that you write? I'm assuming you're asking about process, like the actual physical work. Because like my basic process hasn't changed. Like I still write out all the chapters, like an outline, and then just write. But yeah, absolutely. I have no time. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like I don't know how people do it. Like I know Delilah S. Dawson, like I think about this almost every day. She says she wrote her first book when she was 32 years old, nursing her second child. And I'm not wired that way. I don't know. I definitely don't need, I'm not as precious about it anymore. Like I don't need all day, every day, but I do still need a pretty big block of time, which is why the novel hasn't been getting written. The short stories are easier because it's just a moment in time, and at least the way that I write them, they're just a moment in time. But having the 1 day a week is good. Like, having 1 day a week has been amazing. If I could get 2, I think I could be incredibly productive. That's the goal, is to have 2. But I do try to get stuff written in between, like nap times and whatever. Dave March says, it could be worse. You could be Joseph Conrad, having his wife lock him in the office and not letting him out till he wrote 500 words a minimum. I would love that. If somebody would take over all my responsibilities and lock me in my office until I could write 500 words every day, that would make me very happy. But yeah, so when I don't have my full day, I do try to get stuff written, or at least write notes. Outlines and stuff usually get written on non-work days. So, Tina gives a clarification. I mean, like what you're writing about. I understand making time to do stuff when you're trying to chase kiddos. The stuff that I'm writing about, I have noticed. So because the novel, like setting the novel aside. Tina says, for example, with who my children are has affected how I write personalities for my characters. It's given me a deeper connection to how people are in general. That's actually really cool. I had never considered that because Mackenzie's only a year and a half old, right? Not even. So like she's not a meatloaf anymore, but she's also not a person yet. So she has a personality, but it's a baby personality. She doesn't have a real personality. However, I have noticed that since becoming a parent, well, not just becoming a parent, but just over the last couple of years, I have noticed that I am increasingly uncomfortable with casual swearing in my writing. I feel weird saying that because I was such an F-bomb dropper for a really long time. Which is not to say that I don't still, like, I actually have a great mug that I wish I could get a t-shirt for that says, I love Jesus, but I cuss a little. That's kind of my life. But I find that less violence, less swearing. I'm just too tender-hearted for it, and like I can't even consume the same media anymore. Although like I still watch Supernatural. Thank you for remembering my F-bombs. But I've noticed this last year that I've been writing short stories, I write a lot more women. And I have mixed feelings about that because I really do feel more comfortable writing men. I could do another hour talking about uncomfortable with being a social justice warrior or not. I get very uncomfortable with the isms, and I want everybody to be happy and to love me, and that gets me in trouble because I often don't say stuff. That's a whole other thing. I almost said podcast. Would I like to have a 9-year-old son? No, you can keep him, but he can come and visit. I'll bring him here and I will feed him much candy and TV and then send him home again. So I don't know. I feel like I write a lot more women, and I'm writing it's almost exploratory still, like the kind of stuff that I'm comfortable writing and the kind of stuff I feel like I should write, like in a social sense, versus what I used to write. And it's all very weird. Like I have a lot of conflict within myself still, and I don't know if that's common for most writers. I haven't really talked to anybody about it, so that might be an interesting conversation to explore. This being part of being too. So yeah, I have definitely noticed that the things I want to write about are different. Like in the short story sense, the stuff that I want to write about in novel form has actually not changed. Like I still want to write Signal and Noise, which is like the idea for it is basically we killed the Earth and now we have only 1990s technology on the planet that we escaped to, and horrible things are happening. I want to write, I think I'm going to write One Red Scent, which came from a short story that I did 2 years ago about the robot revolution. But like those things just... Oh, Leslie's going to hook me up with some fantasy writers who do less violence and swearing. Woo! Yes, I will send you an email. The stuff that I wanted to write before, like the stuff that I was gathering inspiration and making notes for before having a kid, are still stuff that I want to write. Because it's not written yet and nobody else has seen it, I don't feel any qualms about changing things, like the way that I approach it, but the ideas are the same. I don't feel locked down by like how different, like my different personality. It doesn't feel like it inhibits me at all from dealing with things, because actually I keep calling it a class, but it was a small group. It was a writing group. I just did a whole thing about how dealing with dark themes is actually still very important. That all of the things I was just saying about hope and connection, and you have to walk through dark things in order to show redemption. And bad things have to happen in order to have hope. Otherwise, there's no point in having hope. So I don't know, maybe some of the ways that I would approach those materials have changed. Like, what would I want? What does this say about me to my daughter? Like, about who I am? Because I really hope one day that she will read the materials that I have written and will ask me many questions about why there's so many F-bombs in Ink Changer. But yeah, so yeah, things have changed. It's still very fresh, so I'm not really sure the length and the extent of it yet. Yes. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have anything? Now is the time. I'm going to make sure I catch up on all these comments. No. Suzanne says she still curses because she has a toddler. Okay, let me check. Double check the event page. Yeah. So my mother couldn't make it. My own mother could not make it to my party because she's moving. Fine, I see how it is. All right, guys. I'm going to give you like one more minute. Because there's a delay, I have no idea if anyone's typing. I don't see the little ... when you're typing because it's not live. So, or it's not live for you. When you hit enter, I see it immediately. I sing the Blues Clues song now as my waiting music. It used to be the Indiana Jones theme. Now I sing the Blues Skidoo music. There's a big change since becoming a parent. All right. Anybody? Bueller? No. All right, guys. I really appreciate you sticking around for an hour and hanging out with me and asking me all these questions. And, you know, I'm really glad that you're in the group and that it's going so well. And I just thank you so much. Thank you all so very much. I couldn't do this without you. I wouldn't want to. It would be boring and stupid to just write without an audience. But thanks for cheerleading me and supporting me and backing me on Patreon and just being awesome. So thank you so much, guys. We should do it again sometime. I'll see you in the group. Thank you all so much. I love you guys. Have a good night. Have a great weekend, and I will see you later. All right? Bye.